Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the English webinar today, ladies and gentlemen. My name is SOLIKHIN from Tegal, and today we have special theme that's assessing critical thinking in students' questions. As you know, critical thinking is very important for students, especially on the problem in real life. For example, in Bandung, many street fights happens. Beside that, critical thinking is very important in the classroom, especially for the learning process and teaching process, where the students make savvy, and also the student can cooperate and collaborate together. Okay. Well, before that, I'll explain the speaker today. She's Mrs. ANIS WIDJIYANTI, SPD, and her education is from UPI Bandung in Bachelor in English Education 2002, and also from Postgraduate Diploma in Applied Linguistics 2018 in RELC. Her experience is our teaching in SMK 1 Sukabumi, and also in LB BBI LIA 2000 and up to 2004. Besides that, she has a lot of training in Kurikulum Merdeka as a national trainer. Right, ladies and gentlemen, to know these themes, Mrs. ANIS WIDJIYANTI will present this English webinar. Mrs. ANIS, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak SOLIKHIN, Mr. SOLIKHIN. I'm a bit nervous actually here. My topic today is assessing critical thinking. We often teach critical thinking, but sometimes we don't know how to measure the progress or whether we have succeeded or not in teaching our students in critical thinking. Let me share my paper, my presentation. Okay, where is the sharing? I'm sorry, again.
Okay.
Share, this one, sorry. I'm not used to Zoom, so.
Okay.
All right, so assessing critical thinking and students' questions. Okay, this is a best practice. I did this. I cannot make it full screen. Let me try. Is it okay like this, Pak?
Okay.
That's okay. So this is a best practice that I did with my students, but the students already graduated now. It was conducted in around January to March 2022. So I need to explain the the characters of my school, which is SMKN 1 Sukabumi. SMKN 1 Sukabumi is a vocational school. It is technology, and the students are mostly boys. Sometimes we have, in many classes actually, we don't have girls at all. So most of them are boys, and they are taught in a way how to make them like good workers, like that. So we try to discipline them, like some military things. They have crew cut hairs with specific clothing, etc., etc. And then we usually didn't have problems with our students' behavior dealing with other schools, like we hear from other cities, the street fights from SMK students. Mostly our students were nice at the time. Now they are most of them are nice, but during the pandemic, they stayed home. So they like information coming to them without filter from the school. So when they come, some information is just like full of hatred with other schools. So I have this news here. It is actually from 2019. It was from other school because I don't have picture from my schools, of course. We had street fights in Sukabumi at that time, but other schools, not my school. But after the pandemic, our school, some of a little number of my students got involved in the street fights with other schools, and then when we like briefed them why you did such a heinous things, and then they said that the other school attacked us when things like that. Well, actually, there are some people who spread hoaxes and misinformation, things like that. So we schools, the teachers believe that we have to tackle this problem in our classroom, how to make them filter information. And one of the ways is give them critical thinking to process information, especially when they have to act based on the information they receive. So this is the background of my best practice. And I think English is a good way to teach them how to coach critical thinking. So, but the problem is how we measure if they are already mastering critical thinking. So I go back again, why critical thinking is important, because they will work, and critical thinking is important when they have to solve problem. And then like I said, critical thinking is needed in processing news, and it support decision making, and it makes students happy because they are content with they are confident with the information they have, and then they are confident with the decision they make. And then we believe that asking questions matters, because the first step of skepticism, the first step of critical thinking are skepticism and doubting. Not every news, not every information that you receive is true. You have to check, recheck, and recheck again before you make decision. Or you decide whether you do nothing or you don't have to do anything. And then asking good questions will promote the discussion. Deep discussion will dig more information, more understanding between people in that discussion. But not questions are equals. Like we know there are questions just asking for facts. There are questions asking for, asking for clarity, question asking for reasoning, and other. And then the questions asked by students reflect how they think, the way of their thinking. We can know that they are just getting facts, or we know that they are analyzing something, they are evaluating something. So we must make sure that the information is first correct, and then the way they process the information is also on a good track. And then how to assess the questions of the students that reflects their way of thinking. I browse some readings, and I made the best use of the easiest one that I found, which is using Bloom taxonomy, the one that we use every day as teachers. So for these lessons, I had several lessons for critical thinking questions. For this lesson, I will assess my students' my students' critical thinking by grading them by classifying their questions into Bloom's taxonomy, starting from, remember, C1, C2 understanding, C3 applying, C4 analyzing, C5 evaluating, and the last one is creating. So for them to be able to go to critical thinking, they should be applying high order critical thinking questions, which should start from I'm sorry, here I should say C3. I think applying is already hot. I'm sorry, I think I mistyped it. And then this is the lesson that I had. Lesson 1. The lessons at that time we were still partially open. So some students still at school, some students some students still at home, and then some students study from in person in school. Unfortunately for me at that time, I had to teach in online. First lesson is using Google Classroom. The students were asked to read the text from a specially designed website by educators in the United States to teach critical thinking of informations. And the text is about the Pacific Northwest tree octopus, an octopus which lives on trees instead in water in the sea. So I suggest that you check this website because it's very interesting and it's very provoking. I thought my students would question what kind of octopus survive without water, and then they were asked to ask questions about the text. So the assignment is to read a website and then ask questions about the text in the website. The text actually is a fake news because no octopus can live outside water. But however, nonetheless, my students ask questions. And then the next lesson is with Google Meet, and then we can go deep into discussion. And then I asked first to them, what do you think of the text? And then they talk about the text a little bit weird, but however, they kind of believe because the text came from me, from teacher, from a trusted source. So it didn't come to their mind that it may be a fake news. So it surprised them that Miss Anis gave them wrong information. So after telling them about the news, and then they go on to discussion. Also, we don't have to trust the sources. We have to always being skeptical about any information, regardless of the source. So even though the source is your teacher, you have always to check the information. And then during the second lesson also, they can speak Bahasa Indonesia, of course. They ask good questions in Bahasa Indonesia. So I concluded that English is the problem here of asking questions. Well, actually, they are already in some level, they are already critical. The problem is then when they are asked to make questions in English, they struggle to construct questions in English. So during this discussion, we found that actually, my students has a subtle doubt about the news. They never heard about octopus living on trees inside in the sea. And then some fake websites are all unbelievably convincing, look like very scientific, etc., etc., with all the jargons and everything. So, and then the last thing that I learned is about that my students had problem in asking questions in English. That's why I think it should be integrated. I will talk about it later. And then in lesson 3, finding out that my students had problem when they had to construct questions in English. So I gave them prompts. So this time students are given a second text. This time the text is from a good source and consists of true facts. And then they are assigned to ask questions with given prompts. The prompts are given to ease and facilitate question making. But again, I miscalculated again here. Giving them prompts making them harder to make question actually, because they had to think in certain ways, so they fit the prompts that I gave to them. So it took the longer time to do the assignment. So only like 3 or 5 students did that on time. So unfortunately, I had just had 3 lessons. So because they will go to, in SMK, we have uji competence examinations, and we had to solve all lessons for that. So this is my findings in the second, the second text and the third lesson. And then this is the text from the third lessons, and it's quite close to them. And the result that I had for the 3 lessons from students, I get from students 1 to 6. Why I took this? They are the students who completed the assignments on time and answers both assignments. So we can see here there are a little increase in their questioning after discussion. Okay, they told me it's not about the prompt, ma'am, but it is your discussion, our discussion, that made us know how to ask questions. Like in the table that I put here, we had some students made a great increase, like from 1 hot question in text 1 to 4 hot questions in text 2. And there are also some students who didn't make increase, but those students are already, one of the highest achievers in class. So, but we can see there's an increase of the questions that they were asking. And then the source of the news or information matters. If they had the information from like random news, they would be like more critical than if the information coming from the teachers. So we teachers are very trusted by our students, so we cannot spread disinformation, we cannot spread hoax. We are the one who should give them the tools to filter disinformation. And then teaching critical thinking, the finding need long time, because in 3 meetings, many students are still struggling how to construct questions, how to process information. And then the recommendation that I would suggest to all teachers, especially in Indonesia, the hoaxes in Indonesia are so rampant. So we teachers, we should provide our students with the with the tools for them to filter information and to act accordingly. And then critical thinking should be massively taught in the formative years of a students. Our students are exposed to more news than our generations. In our generations, news only come from TV and only come from our teachers, but our students get the news with their fingers. It's very easy for them to get information, whether it is good, whether it is bad, whether it is provoking, whether it is hatred, things like that. And they are easily triggered if there are any provocative message coming to them. And then critical thinking is not was something that you can teach in one lesson and done. It has to be continuous. It has to be like, if possible, every lessons we have with our teachers are the lesson to coach their cognitive ability, cognitive capacity, to increase it to be more critical. And critical is not bad. Some teachers think that critical students are naughty students, are challenging students. We teachers don't like to be challenged. Even when we write something and then we mistype something and then our teacher, our students corrected us, we kind of get offended by that. So we teachers, we are the first who should open our mind so that our students can be critical. Critical is not bad thing. And then better design for the next model of critical thinking. To be honest, in this best practice, I am not really sure what I will measure in my students. So measuring critical thinking is one thing, and then objective of this best practice is another. So maybe in the next time we can have better designed, better model of teaching critical thinking with with a target or objective which is very clear, and with the evaluation and assessment which is very clear. I think that's from me, Mr. Solihin, and everybody. I hope what I
Okay.
have shared with you be beneficial for everyone. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mhm. Okay.
Yes, Pak.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Anis, for the presentation today about critical thinking. As you explained, that critical thinking creates students to be smart, okay, to construct the questions and to know about the information. Okay. Well, I offer for ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, you can send to Q&A, okay. All right, Ms. Ani, so we have several questions here. Okay, from the first is about, there's a questions. Why is critical thinking very important?
Thank you for
Maybe
the
you can
question.
explain. Okay.
Thank you for the question. Critical thinking is very important.
Mm.
I will talk about my students first before I talk about Indonesian students in general. My students will work. They will enter a job market. They will face problems. And then to approach the problem, they need to think systematically. And they have to see, like, they have to be able to troubleshoot the problem they are facing. Like when they have customer with the cars who doesn't work, they have to know where the problem is. So they have to investigate. By investigating, they have to be able to have critical thinking. They have to be analyzing, to be able to analyze, to evaluate, and then to find the solution. So critical thinking is very important for my students. That's in my case. And for the students and all teachers in general, critical thinking is very important to prepare our students to face the future, because they will find problem of their own, right? Because they will be there without us helping them. So we better prepare them when we are still here. They are still here. We can work together to build their cognitive competence to be critical. When they're out there, they have nobody to help them analyzing. They have nobody to help them evaluating. So they need to be able to decipher their own problems. They analyze their problems to make good decision. The decision that will be benefit for them and will not cause harm for others.
Okay. So in the real lives, the students can solve problem, right? If they have
Yes,
problem.
that's,
Okay. Okay.
that's the goal.
Okay. All right. And I see from the Q&A, for the second questions, it is said that critical thing to make students happy.
Yes.
And how to make it? Can you explain this, Anis? Please, time's yours.
Thank you for the questions. Critical students study shows that critical students who are critical, they are more happier than they who are not critical. They are very content, they are very confident with themselves because they know they can ask questions. Like this, if the students can challenge or they are willing to ask questions to the teacher, they are confident, right? They want to ask questions. It's a sign that they're confident, they are happy. We can see in our daily work in our classes, in our daily classroom, students who are happy, they will express their ideas more than students who are not happy with their life. And it's like vice versa. The more critical you are, the happier you are. The happier you are, the more critical you are. Okay, because sadness will like shut down all the brain work, and you don't want to be critical.
Okay.
Like that.
So the classroom will be where is it? It's like has a spirit, okay, has a good motivation, okay, to cooperate, to collaborate, among others, right? Okay. Well, the next question, so we have several here. Why is it to be integrated with other subjects, as you explained?
All right, thank you very much. In my experience, like my students struggled constructing questions. So that's one thing. So I believe they will be more, more outspoken if this taught in Bahasa Indonesia, for example. So Bahasa Indonesia, the study of Bahasa Indonesia has many opportunities to build critical thinking. Also in other subjects, like in science subjects, they have to be critical. Of course, in mathematics, of course, in many subjects, if only one subject, for example, only in English, they will only in SMK only one time in a week. So like the brain will work better if they are repeated.
Yeah.
They will build foundation and then some structure, something above that, so we'll make it stronger. So we cannot teach critical thinking in one subject. It has to be in Bahasa Indonesia. They have a lot of readings that our students will understand better. They have to be in science when they have problems to solve. They have to be in social science when they have to think about the society. And in my school, critical thinking is crucial in our, what do you call it, in our vocational subjects. They have troubleshoot in every of what is competence in our school. They have troubleshooting method. So I believe that everybody should do critical thinking, every teacher, every subject.
Okay. Well, for the next questions, as you said just now, that the subjects about the subject, why is it to be integrated with other subjects? So not only one subject to be taught, but can be integrated. So
Yes.
so how can make it?
Oh, it is. It should be from the school management. In Kurikulum Merdeka,
Mhm.
in Indonesia, uh, all teachers, all stakeholders should come together to make what we call it kurikulum operasional sekolah, COS,
Because
school operational curriculum. Is that the English for that? School operational curriculum. So everybody should sit together and was it to assemble the curriculum, including that is we call it the ATP, alur tujuan pembelajaran, the subject, the objective of every lessons. So the headmaster can ask all teachers to integrate critical thinking in their ATP. In the ATP should be clearly stated that in their teaching objectives should be clearly stated that critical thinking is embedded in their subjects. So if the students got every day, every lessons, they have to work their brain to be critical. As I said, it is in a formative. Our students are in a formative years. Their brain are still developing. So when this critical thinking is already in the brain, planted strongly in their brain, they will bring it all of their life. So they will be critical until the end of their time, something like that. So the brain, human brains will like completed its development in mid-20s in when they're at college. So high school is one of the important thing when they still forming their brain, when they are full of information, when they are full of weapons to analyze, to process everything in a good way. So it will stay there. So they will be critical in a good way for the rest of their lives.
Okay. Well, Bu Anis, this is the last questions again. Why should it be taught in formative years?
Oh, thank you very much. Formative years is like when there are, stages in brain development. Like maybe we've heard about the golden 1,000 days, like when they are babies to 3 years, and then when the time when they are sensitive to language, education, like the children will learn better before, like better than we do if we learn new languages. The formative years is like our students now in the formative years of their brain development. So every information in this time, it will take time for them, according to neuroscientists, it will take more time for them to learn something. I mean, they have to repeat, and then it will form new knowledge for them, new structure in their brain. It will make new connections in their brain. So after 20s, like mid-20s, everything has settled. So during SD, SMP, and SMA or SMK, it is when we, teachers, parents, environment, shape their minds. So there is an old saying that you can teach old dog new tricks. Okay, so when we teach critical thinking to those already mature, it's like writing, painting on water, some people say. But teaching them critical thinking in these years, in this age, in their age, I mean, it's like carving stones. It will be hard, it will be repetitive, but it will stay forever. Something like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Anis, because of times. Okay. And based on your presentation, we can call that a presentations of this webinar, the theme about critical thinking. Critical thinking to make consumer informations, okay, and also it can solve the problem. Critical thinking can create students to be heavy, as explained by Ms. Anis. And also, the most important is how the students can construct the questions. So this is very important in the classrooms, okay? Right, ladies and gentlemen, because of time, and thanks a lot for Ms. WIDJIYANTI explain and present the webinar today. And we hope this webinar has advantages for educational institution to be developed and also can be applied. Okay, thanks a lot for your presentation and your time. We can see you next time. Okay, well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Solihin. See you next time.